Well, thank you so much, Paul, for the lovely introduction. For a change, I'm going to probably grab a seat. By the way, is there anybody who hasn't used a chatbot before? Anybody who doesn't know what a chatbot is? So we have a couple of hands going up. So I think after this session, there will be a lot of things that will be clear. So my interaction with a chatbot is really funny. So I actually spend my time between two cities, Delhi and Kuala Lumpur. And I use a voice chatbot, which is largely Alexa, because you don't know when it rains in Kuala Lumpur. So my interaction with Alexa is always like, hey, is it going to rain? And Alexa is very kind to actually tell me when it's going to rain. More often than not, Alexa is really accurate. So that's essentially how chatbots, whether they are text chatbots, whether they are voice chatbots, are changing the way the travel industry is transforming. And today I have two gentlemen with me who are going to talk more about it. First, I'd probably call on stage Karthik, who is the business head at a very leading rising company which has been working in the space of chatbots. It's called Haptic. Welcome on stage, Karthik. Please have a seat. Yeah, you can sit here. Yeah. And then let me call Chetan, who actually is working for WhatsApp, doesn't need any introduction, has been leading strategic initiatives at WhatsApp, and they've been working on a lot of things apart from chatbot as well. So we're going to talk more about it.
Thanks.
Well, thank you for being over here. I hope you were able to use a chatbot to probably navigate your way through the Mumbai traffic. How was it like?
Yeah, so I live in Bombay, so I didn't have a lot of problem. Chetan was trying to look for a bot, but then he called me. Okay. So like, okay, let me help you get here.
So before we actually start, so let me ask you, how many times do you actually use a chatbot, whether it is a text chatbot, and how many times do you do that in a day? Imagine if you were not working for Haptic, do you still use that?
Yeah, so I think personally, I use chatbots for very basic tasks, and with companies who have mastered the art of building the right bot. Obviously, there are a lot of people who are trying to build bots, but not every chatbot is up to the level. But companies which have done really well, I use them very often.
Do you want to talk more about what your role is and what is Haptic doing as a company? There has been a lot of news. You were really popular, in terms of what happened with Jio.
Yeah.
So you want to give a little bit of introduction about what you are up to?
Sure. So Haptic, the company is about 5 years old, and we started building a personal assistant. So you could download the Haptic app and do a lot of your day-to-day tasks like booking a cab, setting up a reminder, finding the nearest ATM just by chatting on the app. Now, as that popularity of the app increased, there is a lot of underlying data which we kind of could collect and start automating those repeated queries. So that's been the journey of the company, and about 2 years back is when we launched our enterprise business, where we now work with a lot of companies, including a lot of companies in the travel space, and build these chatbots or intelligent virtual assistants for them, which can automate a lot of their tasks around customer support and sales. The Jio news, obviously, I'm sure a lot of you would have read. So Jio invested $100 million in Haptic in the March 2019.
How much does that equate to in crore?
$100 million would be close to about 700 crores.
So he's being very modest when he says 700 crore has been put in by Jio. So that's the kind of money that we're talking about.
Yeah, but I think what's important to realize is the philosophy or the belief in conversations being the primary mode of communication on how users also interact with businesses. I mean, that's the belief which Jio and Reliance also strongly believes in. It's natural. People don't have to get trained to talk to each other. And if you can facilitate businesses on conversations, that can really unlock a lot of value, and which is why Jio kind of came in as a strategic partner.
And Chetan, how long you've been working with WhatsApp for, and what essentially does your role entail when it comes to what is happening in India?
Yeah, so I've been with WhatsApp for about 2 years, and what I think my role or what we are trying to do fundamentally around business conversations, as Karthik just gave me a cue on, is that we know that WhatsApp was being used by businesses around the world for many years. So small and large businesses have been leveraging the consumer app and have been doing things over the channel, which is business. So business happens at multiple levels of the industry and in multiple industries and in multiple countries for our 1.5 billion users around the world. And the initiative right now, not just in India, but globally, is to bring a product to serve this need, which is currently kind of, I guess, unaddressed officially by WhatsApp. And so a lot of the partnerships that we are forging, and Haptic is actually a partner of ours as well, is to solve this need. And I'll share more about how we are going about it maybe as we develop this conversation. But the idea is that what is innate to our day and is frictionless and simple for chatting with our family or waking up to good mornings or saying good night, the last thing, and is age agnostic. We have users that we found from 7 with permission of their parents going all the way to like 85 or 90. So there's a natural adoption to this interface that lends itself to a more frictionless communication and a more easier form factor than many other legacy channels. And I think that's where our products, which is two right now, the business app and the enterprise API, are aiming to solve.
I'll definitely come to that later because there are a lot of people who are running travel businesses here, and they definitely want to know, what exactly is an offer for them. But let's look at, chatbots in the context of travel. We have classical examples of the KLM airlines in terms of how they're using a chatbot to drive customer service on Twitter and Facebook. Then we have the Skyscanner Facebook Messenger chatbot, which we actually use to find the cheapest flight fares. Now, these are very large use cases, right? Now, when you talk about, other examples, or when you talk about, let's say, classical travel agencies, how can they sort of use chatbots, and how affordable are you to work for them?
They're very affordable. I mean, as long as there is business value that that a company can derive out of a chatbot, everything becomes affordable. But putting some perspective here, there are two types of customers, right? One is the small and medium businesses, the travel agents, and then obviously there are these large businesses, airlines and OTAs of the world. Now, let's talk about the second vertical first. The way we see large businesses use WhatsApp and chatbot effectively is primarily two things. Notifications is obviously one great way for these businesses to send out communication to the users. So the KLM example you spoke about, there's a lot of Indian companies as well, which are sending you e-tickets, boarding gate information, delays in flights and things like that. So that's one fairly obvious use case.
So I just want to interrupt you in that. When you actually make a transaction and when you get the ticket on a preferred social network, imagine if it is WhatsApp, does that classically classify under the use case of chatbot, or that's not really a chatbot?
That's not really a chatbot. Think of it like a notification being sent from the business to the user. Just the way they send emails, just the way they send SMSs, now they're sending you a message on your social channel. The place where bots come into play is when the user responds back. Now, once you have something from the business, a lot of users have questions, a lot of users have requests. So they might write back to the user, and which is when chatbots or intelligent virtual assistants, which is what we build, come into play. And what they do is they understand what the user is trying to say and respond back automatically without having a human kind of look at it and respond back. And there's a lot of work we are doing with travel companies in that space, because customer service is really a very important aspect for travel companies, and conversational AI or intelligent virtual assistants can really help you scale that entire aspect. So that's the first kind of customers I spoke about. Now comes the SMBs and your travel agents, right? Is a chatbot a right solution for them? Maybe, maybe not, it depends, right? Our recommendation to such businesses is that always start out doing things yourself. Have your WhatsApp number, use the WhatsApp SMB app, start interacting with your users, over which you'll start seeing what are users talking to you about. Over time, it will come to a point where you cannot handle the scale, and that is when chatbots or IVAs come into play. And if you just start off with a bot on day one, you wouldn't even know what's the right thing to build. You won't even know what are people asking about. So that realization on, hey, I need a chatbot now, will automatically strike you once you see that kind of scale which you cannot handle.
So from a personal experience, there have been a couple of cases when I wanted to add some baggage to my airline, and I spent about 15-20 minutes just staying on the line, and there was nobody responding. I went to Twitter as well, a leading Indian airline. All I asked them was, hey, I want to add my baggage, and they then direct me to sort of a call center. And I said, that's not what I'm looking at. And that's a classical use case where you'd probably end up using a chatbot.
Yeah.
Because it's swifter, it's really fast.
Exactly. If this use case of, hey, adding a baggage is very common, the chatbots will get trained on it, and anytime someone says, I want to add more baggage, I want to increase my luggage, I have only 25 kilos, I want to make it 40 kilos, the bot will understand that and guide you through the process.
But isn't that sometimes a period of frustration when a user is asking a query and that's not there in the chatbot? Is that the reason why people also not engage with the chatbot at the first level?
Yeah, so that's true. Any new technology, including conversational AI, think of it like an emerging technology. And the day you implement a chatbot, it is like a 5-year-old. It will only know and understand what you have taught it to learn and respond to. Just the way a 5-year-old takes some time to become a 10-year-old and a 20-year-old and become smart, even a chatbot has to go through that journey. So it's not like a one-time project where you deploy and forget about it. You have to continuously train it, you have to look at data, and you have to make it smarter with time. And only those bots really get better and really end up delighting the users.
Sure. So let's just simplify, WhatsApp as an app, as a business app, and WhatsApp as an API. There are a lot of things going around, right? I still feel that a lot of people can't wrap their head around what I need to use when, right? And is everything available across all the smartphone platforms, or is there a restriction out there? When do you use what?
Yeah, so I think the way to think about WhatsApp is there are different use cases and sizes of players who want to use mass messaging and therefore automation. And there are users for whom a personalized chat experience is just as good and just good enough, right? So what we are trying to solve as well, and we have our take on how Karthik put it from a provider standpoint, is the SMB app. If you don't know about it, you should check it out. It's available on both Play Store and iOS. What that does is it helps you do what you do on the consumer app, like a power app and a power tool. So you can set up a business profile instead of having a name. Instead of having one of your managers have that front, you can call your business name, set up a business profile. Secondly, you can have quick replies. So like a lot of the standard FAQs that for an enterprise would be in a bot are actually being answered by you repeatedly and being typed repeatedly, right? Third, you can have business hours. So you can have automatic messages with away times because you're not behind the phone like a bot 24/7. So what we are really thinking in the business app is a person behind the phone. And we are saying that you need to deal with a lot of queries. Maybe that volume is 500 people a day, maybe that's 100 people a day. You clearly don't have the evolution or the ability to sort of get into bots right away. And so the business app is a really nice middle ground where we're saying that you can do a lot more than the consumer app. You're a small or medium business, you just have still a professional profile for your consumers. You have customized replies which are always standardized. So it appears equally professional, yet it's personal. Because when that person does need to have a personalized reply, there is a person behind the phone who's looking at it, and the desktop app mirrors the phone so you can even type or manage it faster like a multi-agent. And so what we're trying to solve there is that need, right? You can still put a catalog as well in the app, which we've introduced recently. So you can have a set of 5 holiday packages, and every time the customer keeps asking, tell me the Thailand package, it's already there. You can say, just go through my catalog, look at package 1 through 5, tell me which one you want, and then boom, right? So a lot of the repetitive action tasks, which is where a utility app like WhatsApp adds value, become a lot easier on the SMB app, right? If you're looking at that stage. As you evolve into the KLMs of the world, who did this with us as a pilot about 2 years ago, they integrated the Blue bot, which is their bot across channels. So it's not just in WhatsApp, but on email and any other channels that they serve. The bot has the intelligence and this learning that's going on continuously. And therefore, the CRM systems as well get more personalized. And it gets to a point where the bot can be very close in mimicking or acting like an agent. Now, the interesting thing about WhatsApp, even on the API, is that we have a forced human-agent handoff policy. Because even before this, the gentleman who was introducing that, and you were talking about your experience, there are times where the bot will just simply maybe cap out, right? Because it's what it knows and what it can say. So what we are saying is that the experience on WhatsApp can never terminate because of a poor quality of response. At some point, if the bot fails and says, I can't understand your question, it must have a human agent handoff, right? So we are trying to sort of bring better customer experiences for the end user first. We think of you, the person, then you, the business. And therefore, we want to make sure that when we all interact with an airline, an agency, a small business, or a big business, are we getting engagement? Because that's why you open WhatsApp immediately when you get it, and that's why you see it multiple times a day. If that becomes an email inbox or an SMS inbox, it'll go down the same fate. And therefore, it's really interesting that you mentioned about the responsiveness. We launched with the largest online travel aggregator in the country. And as soon as they launched only boarding cards and tickets on WhatsApp. They started getting 10,000 replies a day which just said thank you or hi, because they thought there's somebody who must be looking at this WhatsApp, because WhatsApp is between two people, right?
Were they considering it as another Tinder for travel?
So, I mean, literally, they had to forcibly launch a customer support helpline on WhatsApp after that, because it's good customer service and you're a good brand.
Yeah. So a lot of us are down here are travel agents, as I said, and typically the problem that we face is generating leads. And I have seen outside haptic, with companies like ManyChat. There's something called Silverbots, and even Collect.chat, right? So these are 3 programs which actually I believe are, or maybe in general others as well, who actually help you capture the leads and funnel down the leads in a better way. So do you feel that when it comes to lead generation for my travel agency, or no matter who I am, I want to capture a customer, it's much swifter and faster when it comes to capturing the leads?
Yeah, so we've done a bunch of that work, and we've seen really positive results. Lead generation, you have to think of it in 2 ways. One is getting the customer on your property, which might be a website or a WhatsApp number. Chatbots don't solve for that. That has to be done by marketing. You have to spend money, you have to let your people know about your brand, you have to run ads, and people will come onto your website. Now, once they come onto the website, that is when you have to figure out what's the best way for me to hook the user. Now, a lot of people do videos, a lot of people make interesting web pages, a lot of people put customer testimonials, and just the way there are these little tools that you have, Chatbot is also one of the other tools you can use. Now, why this is effective is because a chatbot can actually be a sales agent live sitting on the website. A user can come and ask, hey, what are the packages you have? Are you running any offers? Show me some photos of Thailand. A bot can answer all of that and really captivate the user. And once he's interested, that's when it gets into, can I have your phone number? Can I have your email? And I'll get in touch with you. So bots solve the conversion problem. They don't solve the getting more leads problem. Okay. And we've done a lot of work in that space, and we've seen some really good results.
And one of the things that I was talking with Chetan earlier when we were huddling for the session, and a lot of people today are trying to, so when you look at traveler, the journey is like, when you've planned your vacation, you're now at the destination. Even at the destination, there are a lot of queries. Queries are typical, queries that you can actually automate. I was asking him, what is it that is happening with automation? And he said that maybe you're a good guys to talk to and talk about what you're actually doing with WhatsApp in this space.
Yeah, so post-trip start, there are only certain set of queries, right? If you look at hotels, it is about, hey, can I change my check-in time? Hey, can I add an extra person to the room, right? Where is the address? Where is the location? And in fact, we are working with one of India's largest hotel chains to exactly automate these kind of questions on WhatsApp. Because the expected questions once a trip starts are fairly limited. You can train the bot on those questions and then respond back automatically. It's all doable, and in fact, we're working with, like I said, India's largest hotel chain to enable all of that on WhatsApp.
And are there any, you want to add to that?
Yeah, I was just going to add that again, when it comes to supporting this kind of inbound, right? We see interactions on chat which are going to be beyond text, and maybe you can talk a little bit more about that as well. But we use WhatsApp to send a voice note. We use WhatsApp to not just type text but send images. So eventually, what we are doing, and we are the highway, whereas the processors are at the back end, either with providers like Haptic or wherever the intelligence goes to for that industry. We are saying that these are all ways in which people communicate. It's not limited to text. So we are looking at adding those elements of support, whether it is responding with something alternative to text, it could be voice, it could be a button, it could be any kind of response which reduces the time to respond as well as makes that interaction really quick and efficient.
And from a data point of view, are there specific data points that people should be looking at in terms of, how a chatbot is engaging with a human? Is there something like a response time, or is there any other metric that you should be capturing? Because this is really new, right? So people don't really have any engagement points right now.
No, it's a great question. In fact, at Haptic, we have also been always thinking about what's the right way to measure the effectiveness of a bot. About 2 years back when we started, what we were looking was for automation. If I got 100 queries, how many queries did the bot respond to? And typically our automation would be around 80 to 85%. But we then realized, hey, while automation is one great metric, is the bot really solving the user's problem? That is the metric we have to capture. And right now what we are measuring is deflection or reduction in customer support calls from the original channels. So for example, if a customer was getting 100 calls a day, now has it come down to 90 because 10 are being handled by chatbots. So that is a metric we have started to measure, and pretty difficult metric because there are multiple channels and multiple data points to collect, but that is how at least we at Haptic measure the effectiveness of bots.
Chetan, let's also talk about voice. So I was just reading one story which says that in terms of the purchase of the smart devices, speakers, whether it's the Alexas of the world or the Google Homes, a lot of people have been buying them, listening to music as well, but beyond that they actually don't understand ye karta kya hai, right? And people have been even struggling to play music at times, right? People say it doesn't really connect to it. So is it too early to even look at real business use cases of those devices, or we go by the theory that what works globally doesn't necessarily work in India? So India is just going to buy it and then they'll figure out their own jugars or hacks as they call them.
So if you're asking specifically about voice on WhatsApp, I mean, we are researching that space heavily because WhatsApp is just as much used as a calling service, especially between borders and where you have international travelers, as it is for chatting. So there's already a huge voice component there. There's a voice notes component there, and the third aspect is voice to text. So even if it comes to just being able to say something quickly and then have it responded to as text. Lastly, there's an element of vernacular. At the end of the day, even if people can't type or don't know the spelling or are illiterate, there is an element of just being able to still communicate with visual mocks and with buttons or with other elements of communication. And so our user research will continue to look at voice as an important area of development, but I don't think we have maybe a specific response to whether these devices or what's happening in that world is.
Are you using a voice bot at your home?
Yes, I do.
And what do you use it for beyond playing music?
You're right, pretty much nothing else.
Pretty much that's it. All right. What about you?
I personally do not use voice. I'm a very text heavy person. But the trends that we are beginning to see is that don't do voice just because it's cool. We kind of educate that to a lot of our enterprise customers that, hey, I want to do something on voice, but wait, why? Is your user voice first? Can the user not type? It's very inconvenient for me to tap a phone and then talk to a bot in front of like so many people. So if the use case makes sense, that's when you have to think of voice. Otherwise, text works brilliantly well. And even the voice technologies these days are not like 100% there, right? Because the voice, you have to synthesize, you have to understand, you have to convert that to text. So all of that is also leads to a lot of errors throughout the funnel. So if you have to use voice, think use case and user first, and don't just do it because it's cool.
Let's see if there are any questions coming in at this stage. So I have a question there. Can we have the mic, please?
Hi. So I'm already using
Ma'am, can you
WhatsApp
name
for
yourself,
business. My
please?
name is Nidhi. I run an experiential travel company. We are a startup. It's only been 3 years. So I've been using WhatsApp for business. Those auto replies, etc., has really helped us. Now my question is for Haptic because for an experiential company like us, now it's not just about people inquiring about packages because we don't deal in it. We curate experiences. So how can a chatbot help in that kind of a scenario? Because as a user, I'll just give an instance. I mean, I really get irritated when I try to chat with somebody at Swiggy or Zomato because their bots are like, they're not even trying to understand what the consumer is trying to say on the other end. And I don't want that kind of experience for my consumers. So, your thoughts on it, that
Yeah.
how it can help. Thank you.
No, so I think for a business like yours, where each travel suggestion is different for different customer, and the repeatability in your conversation is very minimal.
Absolutely.
Probably a chatbot or a conversational AI solution does not make sense. If there is a high degree of repeatability, then you can think of putting up a chatbot there. Intuitively, it sounds like if you want to capture the interest, if you want to capture the lead, if you want to capture, that would be a great place to start with. And once that is done, a human agent should take over. That is what I would
just
recommend.
for the initial conversation maybe, but not like a long
Yeah.
thing. Because how much will we train the bot?
Exactly.
Okay, thank you so much.
My name is Jayesh. I have my own startup, Felixo Travel Gear. I'm using your WhatsApp business. I just wanted to know about what about the broadcast to the customers if you want to send a message that facility is still not active. Why it is not active? Any reason, or whether you're going to upgrade in the future? Just want to know because that makes more business easier for us.
Yeah,
Thank
great
you.
question. So I think if you again think about WhatsApp in your day, right? Like, I don't know, many of you maybe wake up to good mornings. Some of you don't see it the first thing, but some of you do. If in the morning you got a set of 200 messages that said, come for this holiday, try this hotel out, eat this food, and your mother's good morning was the 200th message, that would be an information overload, right? So one of the key reasons we are developing business communication is for the user first, right? So whenever we think about the user first, we say, what does his day look like, and is there already enough distractions or engagement happening in other places, and is WhatsApp the place where he comes for a private conversation? It is not like Facebook or Twitter where you have a broadcast medium, where you have a lot of first, second, third degree connections. This is really the space where you have groups with your family, with your school buddies, with all of them. And so therefore it's really important for us to maintain that wheel first. And therefore, not just for small businesses, even for enterprises, we do not permit promotions, and we don't intend to. So what we are saying is that if you think about the customer journey, there's pre-purchase, there's purchase and consideration, and then there is post-purchase. So in the pre-purchase, there's nothing on WhatsApp. The only place where you can advertise on our family of apps is you can have a lead campaign on Facebook or on Instagram, where say if you are a curated site for travel experiences, you put your Insta post up. There you can have a click to WhatsApp call to action. So you can put a button there now in those properties saying, if you like what you see, advertising is there, not on WhatsApp, but you can chat with me here. So that's lead gen, and you can do that on WhatsApp. You cannot blast out in the morning. Second, then you do the transaction itself. So whatever you go through, you get your boarding card or your final itinerary, versions of the itinerary, conversation about the transaction and servicing on that. And then once you're on the trip or you've bought the experience or whatever you're doing, changes, updates, refunds, follow-up queries, all of that can happen there. You cannot start the conversation with an ad to a consumer on WhatsApp, and that's not intended on the roadmap.
Hi, I am Deepak. I'm the founder of Hotel Genie. We are AI-powered chatbot for hotels, specifically for hotels. So my question is to Karthik, since being a business head, so what I have observed is there is very less awareness and trust on chatbots in Indian markets. So what do you think? I mean, is India ready for it? Hotels, and is India ready for it, or is international tourism is what like we should more cater to? What do you think about it?
I think he's talking more about going outbound or just focusing on the Indian hotels.
Yeah, so two parts. Are the users ready or are the businesses ready? Which one are you?
Talking about the businesses.
Okay, so for sure, businesses are completely ready. In fact, if you look at the top 10 on travel companies in India, almost everybody has a very, very decent chatbot or conversational AI solution there. So businesses are completely ready because it makes financial sense, right? It reduces the customer support cost. It makes the time to resolution faster. It also increases sales. So from that perspective, yes. Users, what we've seen, haptics journey is 5-year-old now, and users have matured a lot as well. About 5 years back, when we saw chats, people would type things like, hey, can you be friends with me? Hey, can you wish me good morning? And things like that. People don't do that anymore. People are very like direct, get their job done and they're out. So businesses have adopted bots much faster. Users have also caught up very well. But yes, I would say sitting at Haptic and working with clients across the globe, the overseas market is a lot faster in terms of adoption, and their tech stack needed to make bots run well is also there.
They have things in place.
Yeah. You should ask this question to Nitin. He's done a great bot for Indigo, so he can share a lot more information about this.
Daniel Vishnia from Around Town for WhatsApp. You know, kids today, they don't know why a smartphone is called phone. You know, they just don't use it. They use WhatsApp. So thinking about that, can you share with us a little bit about the future that you see, especially the bullying issue and communication? Because I believe very much in conversational commerce. People will buy by conversation, it's for sure. Is WhatsApp thinking about how to make it more commercial?
Yeah, I mean, look, I think at the broadest level, and what I can share is that we are building utility first, and so therefore our primary goal right now is to learn how businesses and verticals, like say, what does the travel industry really want to do on WhatsApp? What are the problems that they currently have on other channels? And what is the biggest improvement metric? Like, what's the ROI? Then we get to deep solving any of these use cases, and so we're not looking at it as a short-term journey, because we can't, and I don't think we can even do that to our 1.5 billion users. They are whom we want to like serve an underserved communication need for, and therefore if it's any of these, including conversational commerce, if that's the way your user wants to behave, that's the way the business must follow.
We are thinking about it. We are building really solid conversational commerce products where you can chat and say, hey, I'm looking for cheapest flight tickets to Delhi at 5 a.m. in the morning. And our intelligence engine can show, say, here are the flight options I found for you. And we're doing that with hotels, with flights, and with food as well.
So we have another 5 minutes. So what we'll do is I have prepared some questions for you, which are supposed to be either one-word answers or are supposed to be an option that you have to pick. And this is the theme that we are carrying at this year's OTM forum. So I asked this to last panelists yesterday as well. So this is how we're going to wrap it up. So the first choice goes for you, Chetan. AR or VR, augmented reality or virtual reality?
AI.
AR, all right. What about you? AR or VR?
Virtual reality, especially when it comes to travel.
You just talked about, driving the revenue. So next question is engagement or revenue?
My job requires me to focus on revenue.
Engagement or revenue?
Engagement.
All right, so this is a question where you have to answer yes or no. Sending bulk messages on WhatsApp?
No.
You don't need to answer that. Okay, so your question is chatbots can replace a human, yes or no?
No.
Chatbots can replace a human?
No.
Instagram or Facebook?
Instagram.
Instagram or Facebook?
Facebook. I'm still on Facebook.
Alexa or Google Home?
Alexa.
Alexa or Google Home?
Alexa.
All right, so this is about the event, OTM Forum. All you have to do is just use one word to describe OTM Forum. Define OTM Forum in one word.
Mesmerizing.
OTM Forum in one word.
Huge.
Huge. All right, so voice or video?
Voice.
Voice or video?
Voice.
Hotels or Airbnb?
Hotels.
Hotels or Airbnb?
Hotels.
Okay, this is a question that I had put, but I think I should still ask it. In terms of startup, India or China?
India.
India or China?
India.
And this one is actually related to Nitin. Indigo or Vistara?
I know Vistara doesn't have a bot yet, so I'll say Vistara.
Indigo or Vistara?
Vistara.
All right, so thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen. Give it away for the guys at WhatsApp and Haptic. Thank you. This is your Daksh signing off.